What's it like to get into the Guinness Book of World Records? What if it's for the size of your mouth?
Like, doesn't seem real, like I always knew I had a big mouth, but I really have like the biggest mouth in the world for a female. I was like, wow, I'm surprised no one else can open it that big. Like when I see other people who have small mouths, I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Or the amount of toothpicks you can fit in your beard.
You kind of weave it together in kind of a lattice thing until it's solid. And then you just build on it from there. And you just build more toothpicks into more toothpicks.
Or for achieving the longest melody played by a model train.
We haven't slept a lot. We had like 18-hour days, but it was so much fun. It was like we can do anything.
I'm Kyone Wolf, here about the guts and glory of Guinness. That's next on Audacious, right after the news. From Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, this is Audacious. I am Kyone Wolf, and I am going through a really hard time lately. And from the looks of gestures to everything, you may be going through some tough times too. So today, please accept my gift of this radio show that is evergreen in its ability to spark joy. Yes, today, conversations with three people who've achieved feats of oral dominance, engineering elegance, and beard hair weaving mastery that has landed them in the Guinness Book of World Records. For the next 49 minutes, you will forget your troubles. You will no longer despair because you will meet the man who has set 10 world records with only the strength and resilience of his beard. You will attempt to wrap your head around the mechanical mastery that went into creating the longest melody played by a model train. And now we begin with the owner of the largest female mouth in the world, hailing from the hometown of Gene Wilder, Stephen Sondheim, and Meatloaf, Samantha Ramsdell of Stamford, Connecticut, and her dog Prudence. When, you may wonder, did Samantha wrap her head around how much space her mouth took up in said head?
Ever since I could really look in the mirror, I knew my mouth was large naturally. Ever since I was little, like if you see pictures of me when I was young, like my mouth has always been 80% of my face. But I guess like it really was in grade school where like, I'd make these crazy faces that kids would be like, what is, holy crap, and I talk a lot too, of course, got names for it and called names for it growing up.
Like what?
Oh, the biggest one was like big mouth bass, fish girl, frog. I got a lot of, you look like a frog. Got like a lot of pit bull, look like a pit bull. I have the jowls of a pit bull.
I'm glad you can laugh about it now. Good.
Yes, of course. I mean, at this point, and the thing is like, I still get them now to this day. So it's been like almost like this acceptance of it and like growing my own confidence in it to be, because there's this part of it where it's also like, I've looked at it as a flaw and like something where I didn't really want to show it off because I knew I got called names for it and would, I felt like it, made me less attractive, so I was, I talk about how I always used to like try and keep my mouth small. Like I never wore lipstick. I'd put concealer over my lips, I'd always like be very conscious about not making my mouth big because I got so many comments about it.
So what changed? Like there had to come a point where you're like, I'm going to just lean into this or whatever. Like what changed so you could grow into your mouth?
Well, it was social media, really was when I started doing more, obviously, one of the big platform that I gained a lot of my notoriety was TikTok. And I was trying to be a singer and a performer in New York City before COVID. And like every other live performer in the world was like, okay, what the heck am I going to do? TikTok was blowing up. So I started going on TikTok and I would make these, crazy faces. And if you're on TikTok, there's like this trending filter where it makes your mouth really big. And there'll be all these trends, where like, you're normal and then you put the filter on. And I would always be like, don't need a filter for that, and I'd do it with a
hashtag no filter.
So that was like, it's like in all my bios, like, no, it's not a filter, because even to this day, people will be like, is that a filter? It's like, no, it's just not. Sorry.
Oh, prudence.
Prudence. So it really was the kids that were like, the kids, I call them the kids on TikTok, but, really was the people who follow me on TikTok that were like, we love it. Like people who were like accepting of it, and how fast my account grew when I leaned into that. And when I, showed my vulnerable side, and I showed, I was taking something that I was insecure about and like now made it this like superpower in a way.
Now, does this run in your family at all?
It does not. So my dad has a big smile, but not really, like not to the extent that I do. And, I've had them ask, like, was this like, great grandparents? Was it passed down somehow?
Does the big mouth skip a generation?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But no one to this extent.
For those who can't see you, because this is radio, will you give me an idea for the things you can fit into your mouth so we can visualize what we're working with here?
Yes. Some of my infamous videos, I can do 3 donuts in my mouth at one time.
Wait, glazed, Boston cream.
Yeah. Well, normally, I'll do the ones that aren't like filling, just so it doesn't get too messy. But I can do 3, like glazed donuts normally. I will get, and then I can do a Big Mac. I can do a Big Mac in one bite.
Like a whole Big Mac.
A whole Big Mac. I can fit a whole
Apples.
I can fit a whole apple. Done that. I've done an apple. A ball of yarn. I can do a whole wine glass. I can drink a glass of wine with no hands. Comes in handy.
You never know what might happen to your hands.
You never know. And yeah, those are like kind of the big, the big ones that normally surprise people. Oh, and I can fit 39 grapes.
Do you know that there's a Spanish tradition that on New Year's, that when the clock strikes midnight on New Year's, you have to put a grape in your mouth for each tick of the clock. And if you can fit all of them into your mouth by the time the ticking is over, then you'll have good luck for that year. So if you're ever in Spain for New Year's, it's basically guaranteeing that you'll always have a lucky year.
Oh my God. How did I not hear about that? I had not heard of that.
It's an honor to tell you this, of all people. I knew that information for some reason. It would come in handy.
That is going to be my new tradition. New Year's Eve. For Spanish people, yes.
So I'm sorry to ask this next question. How sick are you of the sexual innuendos?
I mean, it's just, it blows my mind to some degree of like how people really think that might work. Like that pickup line might work. You know what I mean? Like, and I've also like just requests that I'm like, someone wanted to pay me like, I think it was like over like $200 just for like a video of me yawning. They just wanted a video of me yawning, and they would pay me, I think it was like $300 or something like that. Obviously just like weird requests. Like I've had a person ask, like because I do a sandwich Saturday, like every Saturday I go find a big sandwich, and someone had asked for my next day bowel movement to be mailed to them, and they would pay me for that. And I was like, what?
What is this world?
What is this world? So there's things like that I'm like, I didn't even know people like this existed in the world, where I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, just like stuff that it's just like, I can't believe, that people like this, like that kind of stuff. I mean, I'll never yuck another's yum, but some stuff it's like, that's pushing the limits.
What's interesting about seeing you and talking with you is like, when we connect and when I see you, you have a big mouth, but it's only really clear that it's a large mouth when you use it that way. So it's almost like a secret weapon in a way. Is that how you tend to use it when you're going out and about?
Totally. Well, and I think, especially like with some of my friends that know me, but, people that know me and don't know me super well, like people I work with, who, when they saw this come out, they're like, what? Like they didn't believe it. They're like, I don't believe that, until I'm like, really show it off. Then people are like, oh my God, And of course, when I talk, like you're saying, like you can tell it's bigger, but until I really like open wide, then people are like, wow, that is a big mouth. So it does come in handy. I guess it's a nice thing that I'm not walking around all day with like this huge.
Yeah, you'd be exhausted. I mean, well, that makes me wonder, is your face stronger, more muscular now? Like, do you feel like you've worked it out?
Definitely. Well, it's funny. I get a lot of like, does that hurt? Like, do you hurt? Does it, does your jaw get, cramps or anything? And it's funny. It doesn't get sore. Like it gets more, I think it's like my neck, and the muscles more get like tired, and just like if I'm holding it for a long time, it's like, it's like my neck that just gets, it's like it's like any muscle if you're working at a ton, especially when I had Guinness here and they were here for like 8 hours and it was like 2 hours of the measurement. Of course, they wanted every angle. So I had to hold my mouth for like hours. And like by the end of the day, I was like, oh my God, my mouth. Like my neck was like, I need a massage, but it's definitely gotten stronger. Cause I think it's more of just like the muscles, that can widen my mouth so much that really, I look at that, people are like, has it gotten stretched more? If anything, I just think, it's just gotten more jacked. I just got a jacked.
Yeah. Your face is jacked. Your neck is jacked. Will you back me up to Guinness? How did that happen?
Okay. So truly it was TikTok and people commenting. So of course, once everyone, everyone on TikTok was like, oh my God, this girl has this big mouth. Of course, they started sending me the measurement requirements. Like you can just Google, biggest mouth measurements. And they kept tagging me and sending it to me and commenting on all my posts. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. So, I did the measurements on a TikTok. And of course, I beat it. And everyone in the comments was then tagging Guinness because Guinness does a lot. I think they of course they have like a huge following because of course everyone, loves to look at this kind of stuff. And so they are very active on social media. So of course they have a whole team and someone from their team emailed me and was like, oh my gosh, we've seen all your TikToks. We've seen all, we keep getting tagged. Let's see if you really do. Can you send us like, some real measurements? And that was in January. So I think, a lot of people don't know how much goes into it. I mean, it really was 6 months back and forth. There's, they have like 2 pages of all the different things I had to get, like blood work done to prove I'm not on medications that would stretch my mouth, letter from a doctor that I haven't had any surgery or any like type of medical issues, all the different types of measures. There's certain instrument you have to use. There's a certain caliper that, is so exact and precise, because I need it down to like the 0.01 centimeters. It was a lot of back and forth and, finding a dentist that would be, down to do this too, because it was a lot of work on them, having to have the crew come down there multiple times and I had to get witnesses and get them to sign and get them on camera. Yeah, it was crazy.
So how did it feel when it was official? Like you have the largest mouth belonging to a female human being in the world. How did that feel?
It's crazy. Like part of it just like doesn't seem real, like I always knew I had a big mouth, but I really have like the biggest mouth in the world for a female. I was like, wow, I'm surprised no one else can open it that big. Like when I see other people who have small mouths, I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
What is your life like?
Yeah, like what is that like?
Next you can interview me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it's like.
Well, I have a friend, her mouth is so small. And we actually did a comparison and we just die laughing. I'm like, that life would be so different. Like, can you imagine where I'd be without my mouth now,
Well, that makes me wonder, how much is this? I want to ask, how much is this you? You equals this. And is that okay? Is there anything that sucks about that? Because you are more than your mouth.
Right. Well, I think that's been the biggest thing for me is I don't want to be known for just my mouth, for the rest of my life. But I also just keep in mind that, and a lot of people reach out and the best messages I get are, from people that are like, I saw your story, what you're doing and how you embrace, your mouth, gives me the confidence, to embrace what I think is different or unique about me. And, just from all the press that it's given me, not only is, I've grown my audience on my social media, but it's also, obviously my hope is with all these, interviews and getting to be on these really cool, like CNN interviewed me yesterday and like Inside Edition, like these huge, like international news stations,
I know, and now you're on Audacious on Connecticut Public, so
Exactly.
I don't know where you're going to go from here.
It's like, hopefully it gets in front of the right person where they're like, and I can show off my comedic side and show off my, hopefully drive people to my social media, which then, a lot of it there is my comedy and my singing and all the other stuff that I do. So I hope people see me for the mouth, but then they stay for all the other stuff.
If someone were to say, hey, I think that I have a body part or something that is exceptional, I'm thinking maybe it would be Guinness worthy, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person who thinks that there's something different about them? Maybe they're self-conscious about it, but they also know it's special. Like, what kind of guidance would you have?
First of all, celebrate it and know that, it makes you different. And I feel like we're in a day and age where like everyone wants to look the same. Like, I feel like you go online and everyone wants to look like the Kim Kardashian. Everyone's getting everything done. And it's like, we all are trying to look like the same person when it's like, we should be celebrating what makes us different. There's a million people in the world. Like that's, it's a gift. Think of it as a gift. It's something that, you have that no one else does. And in terms of Guinness, I mean, totally. If you go on their website, you can kind of do it, the old fashioned way. And I mean, they had me do it too. But after they contacted me, there's an application where you can go through and start to apply and see if you got it. But why not? So many people have seen my story now. And, again, I've gotten amazing messages that I've, hopefully inspired or made someone's day by hearing my story. And you never know what it could lead to.
Well, Samantha Ramsdell, thank you for sharing your story with me, and congratulations on your Guinness World Record.
Thank you so much. It was so good chatting with you. I appreciate you reaching out.
When we get back, what did it feel like after installing 3,500 toothpicks into your own beard?
My neck and shoulders were very sore, but the feeling of accomplishment was worth it. Like, it was totally worth it.
And then, all aboard! Find out what kind of one-track mind you have to create the world's longest melody played by a model train. I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay with me. This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf. Today, you're taking a break from the harsh realities of human existence on the planet Earth in the 21st century and turning towards the glorious realities of what it takes to achieve a Guinness World Record. Later in the show, you'll find out how a team of geniuses took a locomotive of reduced size and 3,000 drinking glasses to achieve the world record for longest melody played by a model train. But first, the man behind the beard that launched 10 Guinness World Records, hailing from the hometown of Kurt Cobain, Matt Groening, and MLB outfielder Shin Soo Choo, Joel Strasser of Olympia, Washington. We stumbled upon Joel when we heard about his world record for the most toothpicks in a beard. So Joel, why toothpicks?
I was, and I still am, a trainer at work. I train adults in insurance. Insurance claims are not particularly exciting. It's not a thing that people do for excitement. So
I have to jump in and just let you know, living in Hartford, the insurance capital of the world,
right.
I can confirm.
Yeah, Hartford steam boiler. I mean, I know there's a lot of...
The Hartford.
Yeah.
Aetna.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, it's not exciting. And so a while back, I just started putting pencils in my beard as I walked around the classroom just to see who was paying attention. And it kind of became a thing that people would look for and watch for, like, oh, if we don't pay attention, he'll start putting pencils in his beard again. And one of the learners challenged me and said, I bet there's like a world record for that. So, or he said, like, how many do you think you can fit in your beard? And he looked it up, and there was no world record for most pencils in a beard, but there was a world record for most toothpicks in a beard, and it was over 3,000. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome, but that will never happen. That's impossible. Plus, the man who held the toothpick beard world record before me, his beard is so massive and so incredible. It makes my beard look like a little goatee in comparison. And so you take that plus the number, and I never thought I would ever do that. But I make YouTube videos for fun, and I'm always trying to think of some wacky, silly thing to do on a video. And I thought, just for fun, I'm going to see how many toothpicks I can get in my beard. So I tried it, and on my first attempt, I got a lot closer to the record than I thought I would, because it turned out I have a knack for building things in my beard. I guess I'm good at that. So it's not just sticking toothpicks in randomly, it's building a structure on my face. And once you've built that structure, then it holds more and more, and you can make it get bigger. So that's how it started. And once I broke the record unofficially, just at home, I was like, I want to make this official. I want to get that certificate and be in that book. So I figured out what you got to go through to make a record be official. And I figured it out, and I did it. And then I just kept going after that.
And now here you are on Audacious,
Yeah.
Connecticut Public, and you've reached the summit.
Yes, exactly. Who thought? Who would have ever thought?
So you were talking about the technique, the style of sticking 3,500 toothpicks in your beard. It's not, you don't just stick it in willy-nilly, right? What's the technique?
You got to weave them. You think about how, I don't know if this is even a good comparison, but I think about how a bird builds a nest, and you kind of weave it together in kind of a lattice thing until it's solid. And then you just build on it from there, and you just build more toothpicks into more toothpicks. That guy who held the record before me, like I said, his beard is unmatched. It's one of the most glorious beards I've ever seen, but his tactic was not the same as mine. And I figured out if I can have a better tactic, then I can win even with a much smaller beard.
And it took you 3 hours and 13 minutes to do this thing. How did your body feel when it was done?
My neck and shoulders were very sore because you're slowly adding weight to the front of your face just over a long period of time. And it adds up after a while. So yeah, it was sore, but the feeling of accomplishment was worth it. It was totally worth it.
What was your technique for getting them out?
With the toothpick record, I just shook my face back and forth really fast, and they just flew everywhere. And it looks really cool in the video. I got a slow motion clip of it, and there's just toothpicks flying in every direction.
Glorious.
People's eyes out left and right.
You've said that you have 10 world records. What are the other ones?
So all 10 of them are for putting things in my beard. That's my specialty, I guess. So toothpicks first, then straws, then golf tees, chopsticks, Christmas ornaments, then paper straws, which is a separate record from regular straws.
Oh, definitely, especially these days, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, they discontinued the plastic straw record, by the way. So that record can never be beaten. That will be my...
It's responsible of Guinness.
Yeah, I appreciate that responsibility because it codified me forever in that record. And then, well, let me look. I have a cheat sheet right behind me.
I love that you need one.
Yeah, they all get kind of blended together. Clothespins, then pencils, and then most toothpicks in a beard in 1 minute. I think that's all 10 of them.
So what was your favorite? Or what was the most fulfilling?
The most fulfilling was one that I didn't win. And that was the most recent one I attempted, which was most bobby pins in a beard. And we were raising money for these 4 kids who lost their moms to cancer. It took us 16 hours, I think. The person who I went up against, he's something of a celebrity. His name's Dean Banowitz, the Hollywood hair guy. He's a stylist. So when I got to 4,000 bobby pins, he had like 4,800. And so he won that record, and he earned that record. I don't think anyone will ever break that record. It was such a grueling experience, but it was awesome. And we raised over $30,000. It was incredible. So the most fulfilling record was the one I didn't win.
When I think about world records, I think, it's intimidating to go after a world record. It takes guts. And so for those who are listening right now and they're thinking, maybe there's some sort of record out there that I could beat, but I don't know if I have the wherewithal to try it. What would be your advice?
I believe that anyone who wants to can be the best in the world at something. And part of the reason I believe that is because so many people are not willing to try and not willing to put themselves out there, that if you wanted to break a world record, I think you could. For some people, it would be harder than others. But there's so many, look at the silly world records that I hold. There's so many world records out there that there is something that you could learn how to do and that you could do better than anyone else has done. I am a big proponent of the idea of having a growth mindset, believing you can do something, and then sticking to it and practicing it until you do. And I've actually coached a few people to break world records, and it's a lot of fun. I totally helped Dean when we went head to head. He didn't need my help with his technique, but I totally helped him to believe he could when we were talking about this before we did it. And there were other people that I've helped. And I actually really like that process of somebody who wants to break a record and thinks maybe they can, and helping them get through the process of turning all the evidence in, because that's a whole big challenge on its own, and getting to that point where they have that certificate and getting to play a little part in that and showing them that they can do that too. It's a fun thing for me.
My final question may be the most difficult to answer. If your beard could talk, what would it say?
I think it'd probably tell me to stop abusing it. I pamper it. I take good care of it. I feed it really good beard oil and beard balm and stuff like that. But then I keep putting all this crap in it and like, I don't know, stretching it. I don't know what that is, but like with that bobby pin attempt that I did recently, I lost tons of hair when the bobby pins came out. So yeah, I think it would say, just leave me alone. Just let me be myself. Quit using me for your for your glory or whatnot. I don't know.
Well, then a quick follow-up. What would you like to say to your beard?
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the fame and fortune and everything that goes with it. No, my beard's given me 15 minutes of fame, and it's kind of fun. But I should tell you what my wife would say. She's put up with my beard for a long time. She wishes it was way shorter than it is. I used to keep it short and trimmed up, and she liked that. And she's patiently and sometimes not so patiently waiting for me to get past the phase that I'm in now, and where I can go back to having a short, trimmed up beard.
Well, Joel Strasser, thank you so much for talking with me, and congratulations.
Thank you. And thanks for letting me be a part of the Audacious podcast.
Radiates love. My beard radiates love.
After the break.
It was, first of all, just fun. We knew we want to do this, and we found so many roadblocks nobody ever thought of.
What do you do when attempting to make the world's longest melody played by a model train goes off the rails? You keep on chugging. I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Be right back.
Radiates love. My beard radiates love. My beard radiates love. My beard radiates love. My beard radiates love.
This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf. Today, you're meeting people who've achieved Guinness World Records. So far, you've met the owner of the largest female mouth known to planet Earth, and you've met the man whose beard held over 3,000 toothpicks and 9 other world records. And now, I'm going to play you a clip of the sound of our final Guinness World Record. As you listen to this clip, imagine you're hanging out with a group of creative geniuses in Hamburg, Germany. The place you're standing in is called the Miniatur Wunderland. That's German for miniature wonderland. Now, if you live in Germany, a description of Miniatur Wunderland is redundant because everybody knows about Miniatur Wunderland. But just in case you haven't stepped foot in Germany, you need to know that this place is super famous for its model railways. What's the big deal, you may be wondering, or miniature wondering, about model railways? There are over 1,300 trains there and 50,000 feet of track. There are 400,000 human figurines and 500,000 lights. Not only are the trains moving, you might see a house catching fire and fire trucks rushing to the rescue or planes taking off and landing at an airport. There is so much detail, like elephants wagging their tails at the zoo or a photo shoot or divers exploring a shipwreck. It's really hard to take it all in. Even though everything is so small, the feelings when you're in there are so big. Anyway, back to the creative geniuses you're hanging out with. It's right at the beginning of COVID, and you all think you're about to be shut down for maybe a week, maybe 2. Oh, those simpler times. So everybody in this group is thinking, 2 weeks with no visitors. Actually, I'm sorry, I suck at doing a German accent. Here's my producer, Jessica Severin D. Martinez, who is from Germany, reenacting your inner monologue.
2 weeks with no visitors. Wunderbar. Let's use the space our guests would normally be standing in to lay down even more tracks and set a world record for longest melody played by a model train. How hard could it be?
Yes, how hard could it be to compose and successfully percuss 20 classical melodies against 3,000 drinking glasses over a track that spans almost the length of 2 football fields? Well, turns out the challenges involved with this project would truly test the ingenuity of German engineering, because this team is figuring out how to make it work when they learn that they may have bitten off more than they can chew. I'm gonna let Thomas Cheney, the team leader of this group at Miniature Wonderland, explain some of the challenges they were up against and how they kept chugging along and keeping track of every last detail without running out of steam.
So we placed we built a track where visitors stand usually, and this was like a plate of wood, and then we put tracks on this, and then glasses,
like drinking glasses, like wine glasses.
Exactly. We went to a rental service for party.
Oh, like a catering company.
Yeah, exactly, a catering company, and tested different glasses because we needed we said, okay, we would need at least 2 octaves of notes. And then we tried all glasses and hit them and filled them with water. So we found 7 glasses that allowed us 2.5 octaves of tonal range. The next thing was, okay, we put the glasses beside the track. And initially, the train had just from percussion, those little, how do you call this
mallets.
Things? Mallets, exactly, mallets. And we said, and we immediately saw, okay, if we just put a mallet on a train and fix it, it will push the glass over. So we inserted into the stick of the mallet a little spring. Okay, then it worked somehow, and we noticed, okay, the sound of the glass is very silent, and the running noises of the train were much louder. So you didn't really hear the glass. And then the first thing was how to work out, okay, how to make the sound of the glass louder than the noises of the train. We had to figure out how to get even more power into hitting the glasses. And then one night I came up with the idea, let's make a V thing where the first one is covered with cloth. And if we now pass a glass, the first one you don't hear because it's covered in cloth. And then the second one hits it with the power of the spring. And because there were thousands of glasses, the spring wore out pretty quickly. So we replaced the spring here with magnets. So we could do many takes and always have the same power on hitting the glass. Next thing was how to play 4 glasses at once. We came up with this solution. We had 4 rows of glasses, 2 on the inside, 2 on the outside. And the outside ones were on a little piece of wood, so they are higher. So this thing passes over the inner rows of glasses and hits the one on the outside. But because of this delicate mechanism, the position of the glasses relative to the track has to be precise to like 2 millimeters. So we built templates that we could put on the track and had like the position where the mallet on the locomotive would be. The problem was curves. If you play chords, all notes have to be hit at once. And if you have like such a curve, and then you put a template on it, which is straight, the locomotive won't be straight, because like the front of the locomotive might already be in a curve where the end might not. So you have changing degree of where glasses have to put relative to the track to be hit at once. So
Oh my God. This is hurting my brain a little bit.
I came up with the solution while eating sushi, and we had like the sticks. And then I thought, okay, the locomotive on a curve is like a tangent, and if we want to get it right, we need to like build a locomotive simulator. So we built like a wagon which has like the same properties as the locomotive, so the distance between the wheels. And this is like the position of where the mallets on the locomotive are. So we could put this on the track and now find out where to put our glasses in curves.
Yep.
Because we could just place them here and then it's exactly right.
This is like a whole new definition of German engineering. Yeah.
And actually, it was kind of engineering, but it was, first of all, just fun. We knew we want to do this, and we found so many roadblocks nobody ever thought of. But we had a great team, and like we started with 2 people. Then with each problem we found, it took like half a day to find a solution, but we had like a fixed end date. So the only way to get the time back was to put in more people. In the end, 120 people were involved. 2 weeks, this were about 3,000 hours of work put into this project. When we thought like 2 people, 2 weeks, like 20 hours would be more than enough. I've never seen something escalate this quickly in this project.
You were finding problems to solve, and you couldn't have possibly anticipated it.
Yeah. Oh, another thing nobody thought of was just let me get a glass. We never found 2 glasses that had the same tone. This glass, empty, can sound like 2 in a range of 4 tones different. So you couldn't say, I take this glass, fill it with 100 milliliters of water, and this is this tone, 100 milliliters more is another tone. So you had to tune each glass by itself. And then we thought, okay, let's use like guitar tuners or something. But the problem is like glasses aren't instruments. When you hit a glass, there's not just the bass tone you hear a lot of notes, over notes. And which of these is the most present to the human ear, you don't know, because our tuning devices, they couldn't decide which tone to choose. Then we tried with spectral analysis to find out the tones, and then we had all the tones, but still we couldn't say which one is the dominant tone for the human ear. In the end, we had to tune each glass by people who could hear, like good enough to tune glasses.
And how many glasses are we talking about here?
3,000.
And if you're filling them with water, water evaporates. And so aren't you constantly trying to tune these?
Very good point. We found out that like after an hour, there's enough water evaporated to like really make the tone sound different. And if you have like chords with 4 notes, we had to ensure that once we tune a glass, it keeps the tone. And I pretty quickly found out that if you put like on the water in the glass, like a thin layer of oil, this helps a lot. The problem was the oil I used was like cooking oil, and it's so thick that it made the glass not sound like a glass, but very
Dull.
dull. Then we tried with different we tried different oils, and then we found like a machine oil that our mechanics use, which is very light and not dense. And this oil really, like we had over 3 days, like 5% evaporation of water. And with this oil, we reduced it to like 0.001%. So just we could tune a glass, and a week later it would have like the same tone. And so we put on all the glasses after we tuned them like a little layer of oil, and then the oil like changes the tune a bit. So we retuned the glass, like fine-tuned the glasses, but then we could be sure they would keep their tone.
Thomas, I don't really know what to make of this. Here's the thing. We wanted to talk to you about this amazing world record. And when you watch the video, and of course we'll play a clip from the video so people can hear it, but visualizing this train and the mallets hitting the glasses, and it's so charming and it's so funny and you can't help but smile. And I was going to ask you, like, how'd you choose the songs? How do people react to it? Why do you think people are so thrilled by it? But I am realizing that this sweet, innocent, charming world record is truly a feat of engineering skill and problem solving that happens to be charming and sweet.
Yeah. Well, regarding your other questions, we had like a list of like 100 melodies, and then asked our staff, okay, which one do you recognize? And then we just chose those most people recognized. So it was like 28 different melodies, and we just chose the most popular ones. We posted it on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. And it was popular, but Guinness World Records posted it as well on their Facebook page. And their post went absolutely viral. They called us. They said, we have never had a video performing this good ever. 100 million people have watched the video. This was just amazing. And we got calls from all over the world, from Japan. We were in Canadian Evening News. So many people got to us and said, okay, it was in the midst of lockdown. We published the video at the beginning of April. And so many people said, okay, it's so nice to see someone make something of lockdown, because this wouldn't have been possible outside of lockdown, because we couldn't have put the track inside the exhibition where visitors usually walk. And people said, okay, this was like an inspiring project to make something of this bad situation. We are a tourist attraction, and lockdown was terrible, but it also was an opportunity to do something like this.
Yeah, we had first gotten in touch with you back when we did our show, Audacious Little Things, and the timing of the interview didn't work out for it. But coming from the miniature wonderland, what do you think it is about model trains, both in the context of this amazing installation you've developed and in general? Why do you think people are so drawn to miniature trains?
Well, it's the combination of like this, wow, is this big? And at the same time, discover all the little details. And our model builders, each one has his own sense of humor. And if you look at different parts of the exhibition, you can tell the personality of the person who built it. It tells a story, and it's like a look into a world like you can't have outside. And it's like, we don't try to be a perfect world where no problems exist. We try to make people aware of like things and issues we have in real world, like in a sympathetic way, like be it climate change or be it social issues. We try to show them with a grain of salt.
Did you ruin any glasses?
We glued each glass to the track. We had like adhesive tape, and I think in the end, just 50 glasses broken or something. So this was pretty good, I think.
So, Thomas, what did you learn from all of this?
Never underestimate anything. Try things and get a hold and a picture of a thing before you do it. Because in this case, learning by doing and just trying and iterating and fixing all problems on the way, it make this whole thing escalate, blow up extremely. So if I would have like put more time like in experimenting, like 3 more days of testing, I think we could have done it much more efficiently.
Now that you know what a challenge this was and you know what a huge payoff it was, would you do it again?
Anytime. Really. We haven't slept a lot in the last week of the project. We had like 18-hour days for a week, but it was so much fun. With each problem we found and we solved, it was so rewarding. And we had the whole team, which was like at home for half a year because of lockdown. Then we called them back to help on this project. Everybody had the spirit, okay, let's do this. Let's make this work. It was so much fun. It was really great. And we have like so many creative, crazy people that are also nerdy. And regardless of what you need, is it a software? Is it like a mechanical solution or something? There are people that can do it. And this makes this place so special. Like, this is the spirit of we can do anything.
If somebody wanted to set a world record, maybe not doing what you've done, but they've got an idea and it's exciting them, and they're not sure if they should go for it, what would you say to them?
If you have a dream of doing something, of achieving something, there's nothing more rewarding than like realizing it and prove to yourself, okay, I've done something exceptional. There's nobody in the world who's better at doing this thing than me at the moment. This may be an ego thing, but this is a rewarding thing. And this is an achievement because we have so many people and so many clever people and so many talented people. And to achieve something that nobody else had is still special. It was worth everything.
Well, Thomas Cheney, thank you so much for talking with me and congratulations.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
I mentioned at the top of the show that I'm going through some really difficult personal times right now. And when I watched that 6-minute video of this amazing musical train and the tour it takes through the miniature Wunderland, it was 6 minutes of awe instead of anxiety, bright eyes instead of sad eyes, and instead of despair, wonder or Wunder. So whether you're struggling with really hard things right now too, or if you're doing okay, do yourself a favor and check out that video at ctpublic.org/audacious. Today's show was produced by me, Jessica Severin DeMartinez, Kelly Langevin, Missy Carvalho, and Katie Tolarski at Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford. Subscribe to Audacious, and you'll always get to hear the show a day early. Plus, you can listen back to shows featuring things like what it's like being the German overdub voice of Peter Griffin from Family Guy and Will Smith, and why a sculpturist, dubbed the 8th wonder of the world, whose client list includes the Queen of England, will never feel satisfied with the tininess of his art. You can hear them all wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks for leaving that review on the show, like this one from Veg TPT Girl. Excellent podcast. I love this podcast. Kyone covers topics I didn't even know I wanted to learn more about until I heard the episode. And she does everything with empathy and compassion. Highly recommend. Thanks, Veg TPT Girl. Your review really helps people find us, and my ego appreciates it too. Send me your reactions and show ideas on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Kyone Wolf, and my email is cwolf@ctpublic.org. Thanks for listening.